So, how can we regulate our nervous system so we can show up as the best version of ourselves for our child? Well, I'll start telling you now. It's not by having a bath and lighting some candles. I'm actually just showing you this so that you have something nice to look at before I actually start talking on screen. So, that's not what this video is going to be about. It's not about just having a relaxing, calm atmosphere or a bath or lighting candles. We, as moms, I truly believe from when we give birth, some of us even maybe during pregnancy, because we might have had difficult pregnancies, I truly believe we start kind of falling into fight or flight mode, and we very much get stuck in it completely. So say you've had a really normal, great pregnancy, and then maybe you have a challenging birth, and then of course you are thrown into the thick of taking care of a young baby, boom, right off the bat. And I think even if we don't realize it, so like even if we're not consciously in fight or flight, right? But we do get very much in that mode. And, we're stuck in it because we don't realize that we're operating on fight or flight mode. We're just constantly reacting and just responding to our environment without even being able to take a proper breath and slow down and respond or react the way we would want to. We're just kind of being, I don't want to use the word victim, but we're being like a response to our environment, and we're not really at all in control. And that's because we are stuck in fight or flight. And again, I truly believe that happens pretty much for most moms just because of the pure, responsibility, stress, trauma you might go through in birth, and just everything that it entails to be a mom. Yeah, so for whatever reason, we are stuck in fight or flight, and that makes it really difficult for us to respond the way we want to respond, and even just react the way we want to react. And, a lot of times, I think really most of the time when you are in fight or flight, you don't really know it. You don't really know what's going on. Like you're not aware that you're stuck in a stress response. And for me, I've been working personally really hard to kind of like work through that. And it makes such a difference when you do come out the other side and you're able to actually regulate your nervous system. So it's really important to, I think, put in the daily work to be able to help yourself through this. Because I think, like I said, there's a lot of reasons for why you might be in fight or flight, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. So some really easy signs for you to be able to tell if you're struggling, if you're very constantly overwhelmed, if you're very fatigued, if you feel like you just don't have space for anything, like mentally, emotionally, or even physically. So like normal daily household tasks just feel like a really big chore. If you're very quick to anger, or if you're very if you feel very saturated and very tired, and things feel very overwhelming, maybe you have texts coming through to your phone, and meanwhile maybe your toddler is crying or your children are messing around with each other or doing something dangerous, and you just feel like you're gonna lose it because you're just too overwhelmed. And when we're in fight or flight, we don't have space to respond. We don't have that capacity to take a breath and be like, oh, actually everything's okay. I just need to respond to this one situation, which actually isn't a big deal, But when we're stuck in fight or flight mode, everything feels like a really big deal. Everything feels really intense. And like I'm saying, you feel like you just don't have space. So if any of those things kind of apply a little bit to you, to your motherhood journey, or even if you just sometimes feel like that, and maybe you want to some tips for handling the hard days a little bit better, then hopefully this video will really help you. So let's get right into the tips. So these are daily changes to stop being in fight or flight. So this means that these are things that you're going to do, not just you're going to do them every day, and throughout the day, constantly. For quite a few of them, you can do them throughout the day. And none of them are big things that you have to drastically change your life or anything like that. This is about making completely manageable, small, completely accessible changes. And like I said, this is going to help you a lot, even if you're just someone who occasionally has some hard days and you'd like to handle those better. Or maybe you have some reactions or responses that you want to make better. So the first one is to constantly check in with your body. I pretty much do this, I'm not gonna say non-stop, I'm not obsessively thinking about my body, but I pretty much do this non-stop throughout the day. So what this means is, like, say I'm standing at the kitchen counter and I'm cooking, and I always involve my son, as you know if you watch my videos. But that does mean that a lot of times there's a lot of mess, and sometimes, depending on obviously how my day is going, that could make me start feeling like anxious or agitated and like, oh gosh, I've got to clean that. Oh, now I've got to clean that. Oh, now the flour spilled everywhere. Maybe I would have just mopped the whole kitchen floor, and now there's a whole bunch of maybe flour everywhere because he dropped something, or he's maybe like dropped some seeds, and you know, mom life, right? And you just, any moment, like for me, I'm just giving you an example, this might be a moment where I start feeling myself getting agitated, and I'm like getting stressed maybe about the amount of work I see myself having to do. Maybe if I've already just done that work and I have to do it again, you know, you might find all of that relatable. In moments like that, it's really important to check in with your body. So any moment, like that's just one example that I gave, but any moment throughout your day where you start feeling yourself getting uptight, basically getting agitated, getting uptight, check in right then and there. And what you do is you should do like a full check of your body. So you should think, you know, okay, what are my feet doing? You know, and when I get agitated, my feet kind of like are curled up a bit on the floor. They're not like just flat on the floor calmly. They're starting to like tense and curl up. Obviously your shoulders might be like further up, all sorts of stuff. You might be clenching your jaw, like you might have, you know, your mouth like really tight because you're agitated, you're maybe like trying not to say anything or whatever, you know, you're just getting worked up for whatever reason. Yeah, so any moment where you feel that, it's super important to check in, and immediately as soon as you draw your attention to your body, you're already drawing your attention away from the stressor already. So you've already had a little mindset shift there, which is stopping you from continuing to dwell on the thing that's making you anxious. You're already putting your attention somewhere else, which is in a really positive place in your body, so that now you can address the tension in your body. So you can be like, okay, let me just check in. Okay, yeah, I'm really uptight on my shoulders, like my jaw. You might have like your tongue up against the roof of your mouth. You're like, you know, just really tight. Your hands, you know. Just take a moment then and there to stop doing those tight things like that. Just release that. So for example, like the example I gave with my feet where they're like a little bit clenched like that, I just uncurl my toes and make sure that my feet are flat, and I take a breath alongside all of that, and I just try and like, I'm like, okay, no, I'm letting go of all of that tightness and tension in my body. I'm not gonna let it just keep building because that's negative. So those moments are like an essential time to check in with your body. But beyond that, keep checking in with your body, because even if you're not having what you think is an agitated moment, like mentally, consciously, your tension, your pressure might still be building up. So just keep checking in throughout your day, constantly, as often as you want to. I don't know like how often I do it, and it's not about like putting a timeline to it, but I do it really, really continuously. I'm just always checking, okay, are my feet clenched? Are my hands clenched? Are my shoulders tight? All of those kind of things help your body to let go of that tension and that stress, and it helps your mind start to let go of that as well. It really helps. So checking in with your body constantly, especially during times where you are consciously seeing that there's tension building up, is essential. That's number one. The second one is really easy. It's just breathing. You need to breathe deeply often and be intentional with your breath. So just as much as you check in with your body, and in fact, that's a very good time to practice your breathing at the same time. I'm checking in with my body. I'm being intentional about my breath. I'm thinking about what I'm doing with my breath. I'm not just maybe just barely breathing. Like, you know, when you get agitated, you're just taking very short like breaths and you're not actually breathing. So just you might as well pair it on top of when you're checking in with your body and just be like, okay, I'm gonna breathe as well, and just take a deep breath. And then again, like with the other first tip, throughout your day, be intentional with your breath and keep taking deep breaths. So don't just do it like in the morning and be like, I've taken some deep breaths, I'm fine. Like, no, like keep taking deep breaths throughout the whole day, and that is gonna really help to start resetting your nervous system, so that you're not, because basically what happens is if you're not letting go of the tension in your body, you're not breathing well, and you're just always uptight, and your mind's on like all the negative stuff, you're just constantly perpetuating that fight or flight mode and that state of anxiety. The higher the state of anxiety, the higher the stress, etc., etc. It's just, no one wins with that. So yeah, breathing deeply often and being really intentional with your breath is super important. And you know, when you feel like you're maybe really struggling, there's actually a really good video by a YouTuber that I watch. It's called Slowish Parenting. I'll link her channel down below, and she actually has, I think it's 14 free calming techniques. So when you're having a really bad moment, maybe you're really angry or whatever it is, and you really need to calm yourself down because you're actually really struggling, she has really good like calming techniques for that. So that's like a good resource. She's great for that. My third tip for daily changes in your day-to-day to stop being in fight or flight is consider like just like you're doing the breathing and the checking in kind of together, so it's you're not adding stuff to your to-do list. Do that with like your tasks. Don't keep adding stuff to your list, and try and do things at the same time. So for example, like this is like just a one example. If I know that I have to do laundry, I in the morning will take the laundry basket downstairs with me at the same time that I maybe take down, I don't know, my cups of tea, or that I bring him down for breakfast, so that it's not something that's just on my mind that I know I have to do later. Does that make sense? Basically, if there's anything that you're just kind of storing in the back of your mind that you know you have to do, that kind of stuff adds to your anxiety. And again, the more anxiety that you have and the less that you work on letting go of those kinds of anxieties, the more that you'll be stuck in fight or flight, because you're not doing anything to kind of actively try and release that anxiety. So again, kind of storing to-do tasks in your mind and then doing them separately, and one here and one there, that's going to make your life a lot harder. So if you try and do things like together at the same time, that makes it easier. So for example, if I have to clean up after breakfast because it was a mess, in fact, this morning it was really rough. He ate really well, and then he like drank milk too quickly because he really likes it, and he was eating bread and he gagged and he brought everything back up. I just finished cleaning all of the floor. Like I was then sitting down for my breakfast. He'd already had his breakfast. I'd cleaned everything, blah 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 blah. And he just vomited it like everywhere again, because he gagged on the bread. And yeah, I mean, the cleanup was so intense. Like everything got dirty, kitchen cabinets, like I had to clean so much. And I can't remember why I'm saying this to you. Oh yeah, so obviously that was a moment of stress where I practiced techniques 1 and 2, but this was also a moment where I decided to do technique 3, which was to put together some of the things that I knew I had to do. I decided to change my mindset around and think, well, to be honest, I wanted to clean the cabinets sometime this week anyway. I'm going to stack those 2 jobs on top of each other now. So I'm going to re-clean the whole kitchen floor. And what I'm going to do is, because obviously not all the cabinets got dirty, just some of them got a little splashed and some of the baseboard. But what I decided to do was, okay, I'm just going to give them all a thorough clean. So I kind of just stacked those 2 activities together. And again, it just helped alleviate some of that pressure in the moment, because I felt like, well, I'm going to turn it around into something productive. That's a really good way to lessen your anxiety and your stress during a situation, kind of changing your perspective on it. But I also managed to get another job done, kind of off my mental to-do list, that was hanging around there that I knew I was going to have to do. So yeah, kind of putting things together really helps, because it stops you, it just stops it being in the back of your mind, and it stops it being a source of like stress or rush or anxiety. It just becomes something that you've just done it. You've actually managed to do 2 or 3 things at the same time while you were doing something else. Obviously that's not possible for all of your tasks. I'm just saying, for anything that is possible like that, think about it, because it really helps. So again, another example is just, I don't know, I've got to bring the shoes in from outside because it's raining. So that means that I've got to put them in my little shoe storage shelf thing that's in the bathroom, and usually more often than not it gets a little bit dirty like underneath, because you know, the shoes are going in and out of there. Like there's little pebbles on the front area of my house, so the little pebbles kind of fall off the shoes and get everywhere. So I was like, okay, I'll just use this as an opportunity. I'm gonna bring the shoes in. I know that this has to be cleaned anyway. I'll just quickly clean it now. This isn't about adding more jobs to your list or doing more than you have to. This is about putting things together, doing them at the same time that have to be done anyway. I hope that makes sense. Now, the fourth one, this is a really amazing one, and it's so simple. It's just smile. Smile. Smiling is so important. Smiling is going to completely change everything. Your mindset, your emotions, everything. Just smile. If you're having a hard moment, I know it's hard, but try and smile. If your child did something to upset you, try to take a moment before you respond. Obviously, depending on what age they are, you know, if they're toddlers and stuff, remember it's not like their fault. They're not trying to upset you. You know, meet your child where they're at, but, you know, choose to smile because it makes such a big difference. And if you imagine what you're telling your brain when you're smiling is like, oh, okay, there's not a panic, right? Because if I'm smiling, then there's obviously nothing to like fight or flight from. And it just starts, I'm not saying that this is going to instantly change you. I'm just saying that this is going to help if you do this all the time. Like if you try and smile a lot more throughout your day, this is going to really help change your mindset and your anxiety levels. Like things will calm down and relax. I can vouch for it myself. This is actually this isn't exactly the tip from her video, but this is another tip from Slowish Parenting, which is, but she's talking about it in a different context, which is about having like a soft face for your child. So like whenever your child looks at you, making sure that you're like approachable and nice and smiley rather than just like mean and grumpy and like blah blah blah. And I actually have a funny story about that. When I first saw that tip, I kind of evaluated what I was kind of generally like, and I realized because I'm a very like type A, get the job done type of person, I'm not the kind of person, and just because of who I am, like growing up and stuff, I'm always been like a really serious person, so I don't just like randomly smile. I don't do that. Like I don't have like, I'm not saying I have a resting bitch face, but I don't have like I hope I don't anyway, but I definitely don't have like a resting smiley face. My mom does, on the other hand. My mom's always like always smiling. My brother and I used to always make a joke about that. So I actually started doing that, and I swear, like the first few times that I did that, oh my god, I can't tell you, like it was so awkward for me. Like I'm gonna try and see if I can put the scene of what I'm talking about here. But there's a scene in Terminator where basically like the kid tells Terminator to smile, and
she's not here. See that guy over there? That's a smile. That's good. Maybe you could practice in front of a mirror or something.
And the Terminator's like trying to smile, and he can't smile, and it's so awkward. It's so bad. I swear, like I felt exactly like that the first few times that I started trying this that tip. I mean, again, that tip was in a different context, but it made me realize that like if I just smile a lot more throughout my day, like basically your day changes. Like you're changing your mindset, your perspective, your emotions, everything's changing alongside that. So like, yeah, like I've just explained to you how hard it was for me to start doing that. But honestly, like a week later, it's so easy now. And every time my son looks at me, I have a big smile for him, and it comes naturally, and it doesn't feel awkward. I don't feel like Terminator anymore. I did before, but I don't now. So smile. Number 5 is stop yelling. Now this is a whole thing. I'm not going to talk about what that is. That requires its own video. I haven't really been like a yelly mom. Again, my child's really young still, a year and a half, so there hasn't really been like loads of opportunity for me to like become a yelly mom yet, right? My kid's just now getting into the toddler stage, from about 14, 15 months, like that, right? But there definitely were times where, because I was in fight or flight, which is what this video is about, I was not giving an appropriate response or reaction to the situation, and definitely didn't react the way that I would have wanted to react. So there were a few times where he was doing something dangerous, and he knew that he was doing something dangerous, and I told him to stop, and I know that he knows, and I know he understands, because there's other times that he does stop and he understands. And oh no, oh, that's okay, baby, thank you. Beat, yeah, ripped, it's ripped, isn't it? Yeah, that's why we gotta be careful with it, okay. And anyway, because I was so stressed that I didn't want him to get hurt, because I was so stressed, and because I was so in fight or flight, I didn't have the capacity to, like, I just responded. So I was like, stop, like I yelled, right? So anyway, whatever, it's not to talk about myself, but there's obviously times that as a mom that you're gonna yell because you're gonna lose it, because that's just mom life. Like, that is a part of motherhood. Obviously there's ways to work on yourself so it stops being a part of motherhood, which is obviously what we're all here to do. But I'm just saying that this is a really important one to work on. So it's not just stop yelling. And like I said, there's a whole thing that you like, there's a whole probably video I could do just on this one tip. But what I'm going to say is stop yelling and start whispering instead. I read this in a book. I can't remember what book it was now, but I was reading through some parenting books in the library, and it was something about like how to get your child's attention really well. Something like that, without having to raise your voice. And it was about how changing like the sound is enough to get their attention. So we yell because obviously we want to be heard, and we're feeling frustrated, and we're feeling like angry in that moment, and we're feeling stressed, like worried, you know, like in that one example, I was worried that he could fall and really hurt himself. So we yell because we want to be heard, but the book was explaining about how any change in sound of our voice, like, the child will respond to. So I started doing that. Any moment where I felt like I wanted to yell, instead of like yelling from somewhere else or whatever, I just would go right up to him and I would just like be really close to him and then just whisper. I'd be like, I really need you. I'm not going to whisper now because it's just going to be weird. I was like, okay, I really need you to pay attention to what I'm saying. I really need you to listen. I know you understand. It's important to me. Whatever, you know. And obviously it's not about our children like understanding everything at every age. Like I'm aware that my child is young, but I'm telling you, like, I know my child, and this was a particular thing that I know he understands. So you know, instead of saying like I'm saying, instead of yelling, try whispering. So it's not just stop yelling from one day to the next. There's a lot that goes into stopping yelling and stopping being an angry mom and blah blah. There's like a lot we could talk about that. But as part of your daily changes, your daily habits, any moment that you feel like you're going to yell, obviously with a lot of work, those will become much fewer and further between. But whenever you do feel like you're going to yell, change that chip and say, no, I'm not going to yell, I'm going to whisper. And that really dramatically changes the whole environment and the situation, because your kid will pay attention. I'm not going to like guarantee, but because I'm not going to guarantee like anything obviously on YouTube, but like that, I mean, this book was like, your kid will pay attention. And honestly, like, I found that my kid does pay attention. In fact, I think he might pay attention more with me whispering than yelling. Like, I'm saying in comparison of all the times that I used to try and yell. Like I'm saying, not that I ever yelled tons, but yeah, stop yelling and whisper instead. Try it. When you feel yourself getting angry, worked up, there's a situation, there's whatever, go right up to your child and tell them what you want to say, but try whispering it instead of like screaming. Yeah, so now the last one is some phrases that I have found really, really helpful to help, I guess, rewire your mind and like reframe your mindset and change your perspective. So I'm just going to share them with you. And for me personally, what I found helpful is I actually wrote these phrases down, and I have them in the bathroom, so I'm seeing them like all the time. And so like as soon as I wake up, if I'm going in there, I wash my face, like it's right up there and I can see it. So I've actually written these things out on a piece of paper and I have them up around the house. I'm obviously not like everywhere around the house like a crazy person, but like I do have a set downstairs on the fridge. I have a set upstairs in the bedroom and a set in the bathroom upstairs. So yeah, and I found that this is very helpful in having those constant reminders. So imagine you have like 3 options. 1, you could look at your environment and it's completely blank and it does nothing for you. 2, you could look at your environment and maybe there's some negative stuff and it's doing negative stuff for you. Or 3, you could look at your environment and it could have healthy, good, positive things for you. So these sayings fall into category number 3. You're looking around at your environment, instead of having nothing or having something negative or having a blank wall, instead you have something really positive and helpful to help you through your day. Yeah, so the first one is very simple. Peace over performance. Again, if you're like me and you're a very type A person, or just in general mom life, as a mom, we always are very hung up on, you know, our to-do lists and everything that we have to get done. It's like we are so stuck in that. So, you know, we need that reminder that peace over performance. Don't just like get carried away in your to-do list, in your stuff, night, the next task, the next thing. That is so toxic, it's so harmful, and it's going to keep you in fight or flight for sure, because you're just going to be constantly anxious and stressed out. Oh, mi amor, se rompió. Por eso hay que tener cuidado. So yeah, peace over performance. I don't need to do it all. That's a really helpful one, just a good reminder. Presence over performance, that's also a really good one. So it's reminding you to, or presence over productivity probably would even be better. I was very guilty of this. I wanted to get all my stuff done all the time. And that is just so toxic. Ever since I let go of that perfectionism, I've definitely helped myself get out of fight or flight, because I'm not constantly anxious and stressed out and on the go and on to the next thing, next. It's just so toxic to live like that. But obviously, like, sometimes we don't realize that the patterns that we had before in our previous life before having a kid are actually not helpful to us as moms. Whilst that may have been a good approach for my job as a lawyer, like, that obviously isn't a good approach for my job as a mom, because my child needs me to be present. My child needs me to be engaged. My child needs me to be there. My child doesn't need me to be super productive and get everything done in the house, because they don't even know what's going on. They don't even care about that. So, you know, presence over productivity, it has been a really helpful kind of like mindset perspective shift again. So that's a really good one. And the last one, I'm gonna say it, but if I don't remember it properly, I'll write it here on the screen. But it's something like, he doesn't need a clean home. He needs like a present mom, something like that. I'll write it down, because what I actually have, I'm sure, is much better than what I'm saying right now. But yeah, this is a really good one, because again, I was getting really worked up on like the cleaning and having my house like really together and stuff like that. And, you know, again, this is just how I've always been. I've always been like that. I've always like loved to clean my house and have it really clean and have it really spotless. And then, like, for example, if we were eating breakfast and he spilled some crumbs, I would clean it up right then and there, instead of maybe waiting until the end of breakfast. So I was giving myself like 10 times more work, because I was constantly cleaning everything up rather than just like leaving it. I mean, now I actually like, and I can't even believe that I do this, like, this just goes to show how OCD I was. But now if we say we have, maybe before our nap time, if we have a snack, and I don't know, it's just like some bread and there's a whole bunch of crumbs on the floor, I actually will leave that. I'll actually leave that there and just go upstairs, let him have his nap. I'll do my thing for 2 hours, and when we come down, I'll clean it when I come downstairs, you know. Whereas before I used to be like, I've got to clean all this now, like, so that when we come back down it's spotless. And it's just like the stress and the pressure of that is definitely going to keep you in fight or flight, because it's basically like, imagine that you're working for a company and you're with like this really hardcore boss that's like always onto you to like get everything done, be super productive, do it all right now. you know, no mercy. And basically, if you're treating yourself like that, you're gonna have no capacity to like breathe or give yourself space to have like a normal regulated nervous system. And that's why it's so important that these things that I've listed, that you actually do them kind of like every single day, you keep the practice going, and that you know, that you do them multiple times a day. Like I said, don't just take one deep breath, like a few deep breaths in the morning, or do like whatever 10 minutes of like being calm. It's like, it goes way beyond that. It goes more into like, you need to really work hard to rewire your nervous system and reset it so that it can go back to a state of being calm. Because I mean, you might be in fight or flight for maybe even way beyond you even were a mom. Maybe you had a really stressful like job or life or whatever, and you know, maybe you've been in fight or flight for quite a long time. So this is like a really serious thing that we have to address. But these are some like very simple, very straightforward daily habits, daily changes that you can make without, like I said, you don't have to change your life. There's nothing you have to do. There's nothing you have to buy. There's nothing you have to get rid of. You don't even have to do more work. There's nothing you have to do. You just have to basically help yourself by reframing your mind and by doing very normal, accessible daily things in, I guess, a more intentional, focused on calm way. So I hope that you found this helpful. As you can see behind me, there's a lot of untidiness going on. For me, this is really untidy. Like, there's cars everywhere. There's a rocking horse here. There's a whole bunch of dirty clothes there from when he vomited and I've had to clean everything. And there's like a sweater and stuff. There's like stuff everywhere. Like, for me, this is stuff everywhere because I'm a minimalist and my house is like very clear all the time. This is gonna take me like 2 minutes to sort out. But yeah, you know, but this is I'm trying to give you an example that in my own way, this is something that I would have gone around picking it all up and like making sure it's all tidy. You know what? It is what it is. I think we have to learn, like with kids, stuff just is what it is. And sometimes we just have to give ourselves grace and take it a bit more easy and just be kinder to ourselves so that we can allow our body and our minds to get out of fight or flight. Because how hilarious is that? Because otherwise, it's not just you that's going to suffer, but your little bubba as well. And you want them to be happy and healthy and thriving, and so do you. And remember, you're modeling a regulated nervous system, or you want to model a regulated nervous system so that they can grow up to have a regulated nervous system. So thank you so much for being here. And on that note, I shall love you and leave you. See you in the next video.